What's up, guys? This is Justin Coffin for the 330 Sports Show. Today is Thursday, March 10th, 2022. I'm actually recording this the night before, though, March 9th. So let's first start with the Cleveland Cavaliers, currently sitting at 38-27, which is sixth in the East. By the way, this video will be just about 10 minutes. We're going to try to keep it short, just to give you a little Thursday thoughts for what's going on in the world of sports. So getting to the Cavs last night, they beat the Indiana Pacers 127-124, completing the season sweep of the Pacers. And actually, in every single game, they came back from at least a 12-point deficit in each game to come back and win. The Cavs have won their last two games, beating Toronto and beating Indiana, after a bit of a slump there after the All-Star break. They start last night on a 3-game road trip with Indiana. Darius Garland in the game, the second Cavs player ever to record 40 points or more, 10 or more assists at the age of 22 years old or younger. And he is only the fourth Cavalier ever to do that feat. 127 points was the Cavs' second most points this season. They did have a season low with only 7 turnovers. They will take on the number 1 East seed Miami Heat on Friday night, and the number 4 seed Chicago Bulls on Saturday in Chicago. So if I'm a betting person, which I'm usually not, I might lay some money on the Miami Heat for Friday night's game, as I heard the Cavs actually flew to Miami right after the game on Tuesday. So, they'll be in Miami on Wednesday and Thursday before the game. So, the South Beach party, you can get into some trouble down there, and let's hope they bring the energy on Friday night. Anyways, the Cavs' last rookie to post a 20 or more point game, 10 or more rebound, and 5 or more steals in a game was Ron Harper in 1987. Evan Mobley completed that on Tuesday night against the Pacers, playing the center position, which we'll talk about why he was playing that spot in a minute. But first, let's talk about one of our all-stars, Darius Garland. His last 7 games, he's just been lighting it up. Now, we know he's been in and out of the lineup with a nagging back injury, but, last night, 41 points, 5 rebounds, 13 assists, and 2 steals, and just a very, very consistent effort over the last 7 games, really mostly in the scoring column. Toronto was his least effective game, but still had a really nice game there, with 19 assists against Philadelphia, and averaging nearly 30 points through all those games. For the season, averaging 21, about 3.5 rebounds, 8 assists, a little over a steal, and shooting nearly 50% from the field. Now, let's talk about why Evan Mobley was playing the center spot. Normally, he's the power forward. That is because, unfortunately, in the first quarter of the game against Toronto, Jared Allen had to leave with what we thought at the time was a contusion of, I believe, the quad. But it turns out he actually had a broken finger. So hopefully that's something, that can get set and healed fairly quickly, because the Cavs need him vitally, especially on the defensive end. He is a 2022 All-Star, averaging 16, 11, and 2, a little over a block a game, and shooting nearly 68% from the field. Ed Davis is going to, take some of those minutes. He's done a nice job, but, he is not Jared Allen, and the Cavs hopefully we'll get him back sooner than later. But with the finger, it's hard to say. Maybe it can be taped up. Maybe it can be splinted. I don't know. But we wish Jared Allen a speedy recovery. Now let's talk about most likely the 2021-22 Rookie of the Year in Evan Mobley, the 3rd pick of the draft this year, averaging 15, 8, about 2.5 assists, nearly over 1.5 blocks a game, a full steal a game, and shooting 50%. Just having an incredible season. And the other night had 5 steals against the Pacers. And the guy can do it all. He led a fast break, threw an alley oop. Is a rim defender, but occasionally, we can work on his 3-point shot. But the guy does it all at 7 feet tall. And the Cavs really got a steal with the number 3 pick in this year's draft. Quick shout out to a lot of, I guess kind of some are going to be starters, some are going to be role players, but Lauri Markkanen obviously brought in the offseason via trade, but has done a great job when in the lineup. Missed 11 games, and the Cavs really struggled without him earlier, this past month. But when he's been back in the lineup, he's been solid. He's a good 3-point shooter, pretty good defender, another 7-footer in your lineup. So can stretch the floor and do a lot of things offensively and defensively. Dean Wade playing some nice basketball. Again, kind of a versatile wing. Not too flashy, but can make plays and get after the defenders. Kevin Love probably going to be the 6th man of the year, averaging, over 14 points a game in only about 22 minutes, really doing a nice thing with his leadership. Isaac Okoro can be frustrating at times, but when he gets the ball to fall, especially from the outside, can really be what this Cavs team needs, averaging, I think he's close to about 9 points a game. But we need him to be able to hit the outside shot and use his athletic ability to get to the rim on top of being a solid defender. Cedi Osman has kind of been that all-around player for the Cavs this year. Some big games when they need it, some big moments, just a nice wing. Sometimes he'll frustrate you and make some dumb mistakes, but he's a really likable player, and the Cavs, I think, feed off of his energy. Karis Levert, who we talked about in the past, was brought in via trade, has been out with a foot injury. We kind of knew he was injury prone, but when he's back in the lineup, he'll be a really needed scorer the Cavs need. Also, Rajon Rondo, Lamar Stevens, Brandon Goodwin, and as I mentioned earlier, Ed Davis. So the Cavs are really playing 12, 13 guys. At some point, that rotation will get shaved down to about 8 or 9 come playoff time. But JB Bickerstaff's doing a nice job with the guys he has available, and the Cavs are really, are down to the final stretch here. These last 15 to 20 games need to make a push to secure a playoff bid. Here is a quick look at the Eastern Conference. As I mentioned, the Cavs will take on Miami on Friday night. Miami's sitting at 44-23, first in the East. And then you got Philly, Milwaukee, Chicago, and Boston all right there. And the Cavs are 1 game back of the Celtics, sitting in the 6th seed. Cavs have a pretty solid 3.5 game lead over Toronto and 5.5 game lead over the Nets. You want to stay in the top 6 because that avoids the play-in tournament, and you're automatically in the playoffs with a top 6 seed. All right, and a quick look around the league. LeBron on Saturday night, him and the Lakers, who the Lakers are really struggling this year, but LeBron had 56 points, shooting 61% from the field and 6 threes. That is his most points since the 2018 season with the Cavs, but he tied Trae Young with the most points in the league this year with 56. Jason Tatum had 54, Morant 52. John Morant's having a great year, by the way. Luka, Kevin Durant, and Jason Tatum, who's on this list twice, all had 51. Giannis had a 50-point game. Jaylen Brown had a 50-point game. Steph Curry, Joel Embiid, and Kyrie Irving with 50 as well this season. All right, let's get to Coach K. Stick with basketball, but switching to the college level. Coach K was honored on Saturday night before the North Carolina Duke game at Cameron Indoor, and again, this recording is as of 3/9, so the ACC tournament's going to kick off here soon. But just a shout out to Coach K. He's probably the greatest to do it of all time. You could argue John Wooden, maybe a few others, but in 42 seasons with Duke, he has won 1,123 games and lost 307. He's a 5-time national champion, a 12-time has 12 appearances in the Final Four, 15 ACC tournament championships, 13 ACC regular season champions, and he's 4 wins away from 1,200 because he spent 5 years at Army previous to his time at Duke. He has coached 23 consensus All-Americans and has 3 Olympic gold medals. And, this is just a short list of different things. He has a ton of Coach of the Year award honors and other things. But, don't let anyone tell you, sometimes sports are just sports. A lot of times it's more than a game. And you could see the emotion on his face before that game tipped off. So pretty great moment. I know Duke lost that game, but a pretty special moment for the fans and his family and friends to be there in the crowd, and not to mention all the alumni that he had coached. A lot of them were in the stands. All right, now let's switch to the NFL. Try to get through this fairly quickly, but just way too big a news not to talk about. Aaron Rodgers made his decision. We'll talk about that in just a second. Russell Wilson, blockbuster trade. Just yesterday, quarterback dominoes around the league are falling. We're going to mention Calvin Ridley and talk about what's next for him. Franchise tags were placed on players. Free agency begins soon, and the NFL draft is approaching. So we got a lot going on in the NFL. The NFL does a great job with consistently marketing and making itself relevant. So Aaron Rodgers made his decision and will stay with the Green Bay Packers. So hopefully keeping him in Green Bay for the remainder of his career. A lot of smoke around where he might go. Reports on him possibly retiring, but no, all that was for naught. He will be back in Green Bay. There was a report of a 4-year, $200 million contract, but he reported that wasn't accurate. So he will be back at least for next season with the Packers, the reigning 2-time MVP, back-to-back last 2 seasons. And then after that news broke, we had the Russell Wilson news. So I heard it yesterday. I was just driving around and I was like, wow, this is an enormous news. And for Aaron Rodgers, who's a bit of a diva sometimes, Russell Wilson kind of stole the headlines from Aaron Rodgers staying with Packers because this blockbuster trade was huge. So it sends Russell Wilson and a 4th-round pick to the Denver Broncos. The Seattle Seahawks will receive quarterback Drew Lock, tight end Noah Fant, who was a 1st-round pick not just maybe 2-3 years ago, a defensive lineman Shelby Harris, 2 1st-round picks, 2 2nd-round picks, and 1 5th-round pick in the next coming draft. So big, huge trade, and the AFC is a gauntlet with quarterback, especially in the AFC West. You have Mahomes, you have Justin Herbert, you have Russell Wilson, and you have Derek Carr. So a big shift from the NFC. Seattle still, could have been a contender there in the NFC West, to now breaking it down and doing a full rebuild, to Denver being a really good team that was missing a quarterback, to now possibly having a roster that can compete for the Super Bowl. So let's look at some of these quarterback dominoes, as there was a couple other moves. Carson Wentz was then traded from the Indianapolis Colts to the Washington now Commanders. Deshaun Watson, who arguably is a top 5, top 6 quarterback in the league, We all know about the legal trouble he's facing. That is wrapping up, hopefully, in the near future for not only the victims but also himself. I don't know the details, and again, it's in this country you should be innocent until proven guilty. I'm not going to take a side on that because again, that's not my place. But if Deshaun Watson is cleared, a lot of teams will want his services, and a lot of quarterback movement still is possible. You could have this, the Steelers are looking for a quarterback. The Colts are now looking for a quarterback. Houston will be looking for a quarterback. Miami, possibly Vegas if Josh McDaniels and Derek Carr, with them, but a lot of NFC teams looking for quarterbacks, possibly. What are the Vikings going to do with Kirk Cousins? Detroit is, since trading Stafford, they're going to be looking for a quarterback. The Eagles I put on this list now. Jalen Hurts was their starter and had a pretty nice season, but the Eagles have 3 first-round picks this year. Could they use that to try to trade for one of these veteran quarterbacks, a Deshaun Watson, someone else that could, really, give an offer that a team can't refuse? The Giants, are they happy with Daniel Jones? Who knows? Seattle, obviously, now is right in the quarterback market. And then you got Tampa Bay. Tom Brady just retired. The Saints, in the post-Drew Brees era, what are they going to do? The Carolina Panthers are not going to be happy with Sam Darnold. Matt Ryan, who knows his future? San Francisco. And then I put Arizona on this list because Kyler Murray doesn't seem like they're seeing eye to eye right now, so we'll see what that happens. But just looking at this list real quick, the NFC South was maybe the best quarterback play over the last 5 to 10 years with Tom Brady there for a couple of years, Drew Brees his whole career, Cam Newton a former MVP, and Matt Ryan a former high level quarterback. All those quarterbacks and teams could be different places or just not in the league anymore. So the NFL landscape is changing for sure. So some of the veteran quarterback possibilities out there: Jimmy Garoppolo, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, Sam Darnold, Mitch Trubisky, Jordan Love, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Teddy Bridgewater, Tyrod Taylor, Andy Dalton, Cam Newton, Joe Flacco, Jacoby Brissett, Colt McCoy. Not the greatest list of names, but there might be a couple of those guys in there that get with the right situation that could hit or be a really, really reliable backup quarterback for a good situation. The Browns or Steelers might want to bring one of those guys in for a backup to Baker or to compete with Dwayne Haskins or Mason Rudolph for the starting job for Pittsburgh. There's other possibilities: the draft, Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, Matt Corral, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, Carson Strong. There's a few other quarterbacks in this draft that Western Kentucky won. So we have, there's a lot of questions to be answered, but the dominoes are starting to fall, which means there will be movement and a lot of teams making calls and making moves. And the franchise tags were placed on players recently. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but basically they're 1-year contracts. They can either be exclusive or non-exclusive. Exclusive means that team can only negotiate with that player. The player will be given basically the top 5 salary based on the top 5 players at that position. So if for the Browns, for example, they franchise tag David Njoku, who will be paid about $10.9 million because that is the average of the top 5 tight ends in the league. Non-exclusive means they can be tendered, and any team that signs that player will also have to give up 2 first-round draft picks. So the franchise tags that were used this year: Chris Godwin for Tampa Bay, who tore his ACL, was a possible look for the Cleveland Browns. Cam Robinson, offensive tackle, Jacksonville. Devontae Adams, wide receiver, Green Bay, could be the best in the league. Dalton Schultz, another tight end for Dallas. Orlando Brown, offensive tackle for Kansas City. Jesse Bates, the stud safety for the Bengals. David Njoku, as I mentioned, and then Mike Gesicki, the tight end from Miami. So 3 tight ends on that list. And then let's talk real quick about Calvin Ridley, suspended for 1 year from the NFL for gambling on games. He said on Twitter that he only bet $1,500 via a sports betting app and bet 3-game, 5-game, and 8-game parlay if I saw. So I'm guessing maybe like $500 a piece. But he was using the Hard Rock Sports Bet app, sports book app. Apparently something was flagged, but maybe it was flagged because his username on the app was Calvin Ridley from the Falcons. That's literally not a joke. That was dead serious. So I saw that, had to share that out. But that, again, a possible replacement for the Browns via Odell, or if Jarvis Landry moves on. But Calvin Ridley is now out for a Browns possibility. Godwin is now out. Mike Williams was signed to a contract already by the Chargers. So wide receivers are fast and furiously going away fast. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but Major League Baseball, as of Wednesday evening at 10 o'clock, they're still locked out, apparently at a stalemate. This now cancels the second week of the season, so stay tuned, I guess. But we're not spending much more time on this because if they can't get it together, they honestly don't deserve our time. And then to wrap up the show, just want to let everybody know, I'm sure you've probably seen it, but conference tournaments will continue into Sunday, and the brackets will be released Sunday night. So March Madness is here, and it's going to be a fun month. March has a ton of awesome stuff. Baseball's kind of holding us back a little bit, but March into April is one of the best times on the sports calendar. So thanks for listening, everybody. We will see you next